Boom, we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is, of course, your boy, Nolan Hawkeye Anthony here. And I hope you guys are having a fantastic week, wherever you may be. And, of course, however you may be listening. I have got a jam-packed show for y'all today. The Iowa Hawkeyes had 5 commits on the early signing day. And I was thinking of fitting all of the commits into one video, but I don't think I'm going to be doing that. I think instead what I'm going to be doing is taking a look at the defensive back commits, TJ Hall, Cohen S Stringer, and Olando Trader, given an evaluation and an analysis of what the Iowa Hawkeyes are getting, what it means that the Iowa Hawkeyes picked them, and then doing a separate video on the other 2 commits that the Iowa Hawkeyes received on that very day. But before we get into any of that, I want to mention going to 247hawkeye.com. And I really do hope you guys consider subscribing because, as I've said before, subscribing makes you feel good. And at the very least, if you don't want to subscribe, like, comment, you know the deal. And I will be putting the PayPal link in the description if you want to help the show out monetarily. And without further ado, let's get into this. So let's start with Cohen Estringer. I think that is how you pronounce his last name. Obviously, it's kind of hard to verify all of this information, but I'm pretty sure I got it correct. This is probably the most interesting commitment to me, even though the other guys have some interesting stories as well. But this is just a classic Iowa Hawkeye commitment. A guy who is from a different state, literally from what I have understood, when he lived in Arizona and the Arizona coach said he wouldn't be good enough to play high school football, not just college football, high school football. He was a soccer athlete. Before, Arizona is a great state that produces a lot of talent. The best states in soccer, California, Texas, Arizona, more, of the Sunshine State, so to speak. And then, as I understand, he transferred over to, or maybe not transferred, but moved over to Michigan and has really only been playing football for 2 years. And the reason why I say this is a classic Iowa Hawkeye commitment or signing is because the Iowa Hawkeyes, number one, always get guys who are multi-sport athletes, which I am a huge fan of. In high school, I played water polo, I swam, I played baseball, I played basketball. And if you have a youngin out there, I cannot say this enough, how important it is to not have your youngin only play one sport. It is very crucial to play multiple sports as it helps build the overall profile of the athlete you are trying to build. But anyways, that is what the Hawkeyes do. They always take guys who wrestle and play football and play, multiple sports. And so this was an excellent story. And really, this dude only came onto the radar very, very late. I mean, it didn't even happen at the beginning of this year. It happened towards the end of the Iowa Hawkeye football season. And once it happened, this dude's offer sheet grew. I mean, it grew big time. He had offers from Michigan, Wisconsin, who his teammate ended up committing to, linebacker Aiden Vaughan. He had an offer from Colorado. Let's just take a look at it, shall we? Let's look at the offer sheet. Boston College, Boston, Wisconsin, Central Michigan was the school he was committed to before the Iowa Hawkeyes, Colorado, Maryland, and Michigan. He had an offer to Michigan, which is a pretty significant offer, especially for an in-state guy. He had an offer from Syracuse, Notre Dame. Notre Dame was in his final 4 or 5, I believe. It was Iowa, Notre Dame, Wisconsin, and I forget who the last team was. Utah, Vanderbilt. So this dude has an excellent offer sheet. I mean, he really, really does. And like I say, I love this story. A guy, this is what is really, really cool about recruiting, because when you are recruiting someone to play at your institution, you're dealing with young men who are still growing. They still have so much room for development and just, quite frankly, moving up the ladder. And I always refer to it as getting their man body. And we see that time and time again, especially with Iowa commits. When that finally happens, the Iowa Hawkeyes see it and they do a great job of evaluating and therefore sending an offer and getting it. So in general, this is an excellent get for the Iowa Hawkeyes. From my understanding, the Iowa Hawkeyes, the main factor in the commitment were two things. Phil Parker being one of the top defensive back coaches in the country, and Xavier Wanpa. One of the comments that the director of recruiting, Tyler Barnes, said is that dudes want to play with other dudes, which is very, very true. So that led to this commitment. It's also important to note that Iowa only had one defensive back commit, Cooper DeJean, in last year's 24th ranked recruiting class. Let's read his evaluation from national recruiting analyst Alan True. High school receiver and safety who projects more to defense in college, but could get a look on offense. Has good size and still has some growth potential. He's 6'2", guys. That is very, very solid size. And as we know, Phil Parker likes taking tall, 6'1", 6'2", longer defensive backs. I mean, he's taken more compact ones like Desmond King and things like that. But as of late, we have seen him moving towards more of a lanky, long defensive back profile. Picked up football in high school, but has learned quickly. On defense, shows physicality and acceleration to the ball. Short area burst is good, takes good angles, and while straight line speed has not been backed up with a verified track or 40 time, he gets to everywhere he needs to on the field. Background of a receiver provides him with ball skills and tracking ability, still inexperienced, and only played 1 year of defense, but shows great instincts, needs reps in man coverage if a school needs him to do that. Safety or hybrid is our most likely projection for him, and his trajectory is heading upwards. And I'm going to botch this name, but the comp that he receives is Talanoa Hafunga of the San Francisco 49ers. So definitely some high praise here. And the biggest thing with Cohen is just how much upside he still has. I mean, he is just now hitting the surface. All right, let's take a look at the other two DB commits the Iowa Hawkeyes have received, and then at the end, we will watch some film together. By the way, if you're not following me on Twitter, follow me on Twitter at 247Hawkeye. No big thing. This is a cool little picture of all the DB commits. And, it's an excellent haul by the Iowa Hawkeyes. No doubt about it. Before we take a look at Olando Trader, I do want to give the measurement of Cohen S Stringer so you guys can get a feel for what Phil Parker is, where he's starting to lean as far as the physical profile of the DBs. Cohen S Stringer is 6'2", 190, according to 247 Sports. But in one of the articles I read, it says that he's 6'2", still growing actually, and 205 pounds, which I got to say, guys, for a high school athlete, that is pretty dang solid. I mean, a DB, once he gets to college, maybe gets up to 210, 215, which, again, gaining pure muscle is very, very hard to do. A lot of the gains that you see with college athletes is not pure muscle. So, when whatever Iowa website does the weight additions for the players, and they say it's a pure muscle gain. It's not. It's a little bit of fat and a little bit of muscle. They're just getting bigger in general. A pure muscle gain is very, very difficult. So my point is that if Cohen is 205 pounds, he really won't have to do much to physically be ready once he gets to Iowa, as again, maybe the max he gets to, depending on where he plays, whether it's, strong or free safety or even corner, we'll see if that happens, is about 210, maybe max. I would say max 220 pounds, but that would be pushing it. So we will see how that goes. And last but not least, this is the rivals ranking for Cohen S Stringer. The last thing I want to say on Cohen, and it's really the case for all three guys, TJ Hall, Olando Trader, and Cohen S Stringer, is all three have the capability of playing offense if need be. Now, with that being said, I do think if Iowa wanted to take another wide receiver, especially in this class, they would just do that, as opposed to taking a really talented DB and moving him to offense. The Iowa Hawkeyes will always, especially if KF is the head coach, will always lean towards putting a guy, a very, very talented player, on defense rather than on offense, which I think we all are aware of. All right, guys, here is Olando Trader. He has a height of 6'1", and he weighs 185 pounds. Looking at some of the pictures, he is also filled in pretty dang good as well. He was committed to Central Michigan. He has a pretty strong grade of 87.01 and a pure 247 sports grade of 87. Here is a look at his offer sheet. Nebraska and Vanderbilt came in there at the end. By the way, Nebraska's recruiting class is dead last in the Big Ten right now, which is absolutely incredible. Anyways, I digress. And he was committed to Central Michigan all the way until the end, and he officially visited the Iowa Hawkeyes on December 10th. I don't really have any more information than that on Olando. He was a late riser. He does have very blazing speed, as they say. Everything that I have read points to him being a burner. So I think of the 4 defensive back commits, Olando is definitely more geared towards the corner. Let's read this cornerback position. Let's read this evaluation from Alan Trieu. Has a verified 10.84 blazing 100-meter dash on file. That is fast, folks. That is very, very fast. Anything under 11.5 is blazing speed, okay? Especially for a high school guy. Has used his speed and burst to be an impact high school player on both defense and offense. By the way, I had somebody comment to me that 4-star quarterback commit Marco Linez, his 4.8 40 was not very fast, okay? Here's the thing with times, all right? If you hand clock a time, it can be off by a wide margin, okay? And as you guys all know, a tenth of a second makes a huge difference. Most of these guys who go to these camps are laser timed, which is as accurate as it gets. And way different than a hand-clocked time. So yes, anything below a 4.8 for a high school player is blazing speed when it comes to the 40. Not to mention a 10.84 in a 100-meter dash. Anyways, tracks it and can make plays on the ball in the air. Well built and strong, which shows up in the open field when he breaks tackles. Still more raw on defense from the technical side, but that is likely where he projects because of his upside there. Could be a corner or a safety, depending on that continued development and which system he plays in college, but still has a lot of stealing to go. And the comp he has is Darnay Holmes from the New York Giants. And last but not least, this is Orlando's rivals.com profile. He is graded as the 54th best corner in the country, and he is 14th in the state of Michigan, and he has a 5.7 grade. I totally missed this before, but Phil Parker continues to go into the state of Michigan and just pluck out excellent defensive back prospects. If you are from the state of Michigan and Phil Parker comes knocking on your door, I mean, what more evidence do you need that you will have an excellent chance if you just do what he asks you to do and, you know, sign with the Hawkeyes to be an NFL caliber defensive back? I mean, the dude, it's nuts how well he has done. Specifically going to his the school he went, or the area where he went to college, Michigan State, and plucking out prospects out of the state of Michigan. And last but certainly not least, we have TJ Hall, who, just like Cohen, is a taller 6'2" defensive back with the capability or ability to play both sides of the ball, wide receiver or DB. And this is really like a fun commitment. Iowa doesn't often go to the state of California to recruit because, well, quite frankly, for the most part, they don't really have to. And it's kind of hard to pluck the kind of talent that they want to pluck out of the state of California. There's a lot of competition down there. Not only do you have the Pac-12 schools, but you also have, top tier Big Ten schools coming down there, top tier SEC schools coming down there and trying to get some diamonds in the rough. And this is as good as it gets. I am shocked that Iowa was able to land this guy. I really am. I mean, a guy not only from the state of California, but from a pretty big area in the state of California. Where he's from is about 2 hours from where I live in Sacktown in Fresno, California. Very big area, very well-known area. And the fact that Iowa was able to go to California where they don't have any natural ties like they do in Wisconsin or Michigan, through Phil Parker, or, Indiana through Kelvin Bell, or, things like that. There's no natural pipeline there. And get a guy like TJ Hall is it's a big deal, folks. It really is. It's a testament to the type of season the Iowa Hawkeyes had this season. The other thing that I want to note on TJ Hall is he was committed to Arizona, the University of Arizona. Then he decommitted and he chose the Washington Huskies, and then decommitted from Washington and decided to go to Iowa. The bottom line is the Pac-12 had their chance to land this dude, and they just didn't make it happen. The Pac-12, quite frankly, even with the addition of Lincoln Riley, is in shambles. I mean, right now it's pretty much the Big Ten and the SEC, and then the ACC and the Pac-12 are battling for mediocrity. But anyways, that's a whole different conversation for another day. Here is his offer sheet. He had offers from Washington, Arizona, as I stated, Colorado, Michigan, Nevada, of course, which I expected. A lot of guys from Northern California end up receiving Nevada offers. Oregon State, and he was getting strong looks from Cal and UCLA. So again, folks, this is an excellent get for the Iowa Hawkeyes, no matter how you slice it. Like I said, in general, it's hard for a school like Iowa to convince a kid from California, where the weather is as good as it gets, to go and not just give the school the time of day, but literally decide to move there. And I can't remember what connection TJ Hall has. I think his dad went to Western Illinois University. I'm pretty sure that is the connection that is there. So his dad is familiar with the Midwest and definitely familiar with the Iowa Hawkeyes. All right, let's watch Cohen S Stringer, some of his highlights, and I will give my final evaluation of just not just what I expect from these DBs when they get to Iowa, but what it means for Iowa and what we can expect as fans of the Iowa Hawkeyes. By the way, guys, I just want to say this. You guys have made my decision to start this channel just incredible. Like I always say, I'm not incredibly talented at this, but you guys have just made this a blessing and a very fun thing. I want to thank those of you who have sent me donations. Thank you so much. It is well appreciated. And again, thank you for those of you guys who have subscribed. All right, let's go. Whoo, he gone. I will say, if that is another component for the Iowa Hawkeyes when they look at DBs, is their ability to play on special teams. No doubt about it. Yeah, he is very long. Very long. You guys can't hear the sound in the video, but I can. You know what? Let's turn the sound on. Screw it. Let's turn the sound on. Let me do it. Let me turn the sound on for y'all. Let's do that for y'all here. Boom, done. All right, let's get back to it. All right, that's enough, Nolan. Wow. Yeah, he's blazing. He's a very smooth athlete. Ooh, wow. Nice. That was great closing speed on that pass. No, he's a legit athlete, folks. Legit. Are the Hawkeyes sure they don't want to take a look at this guy on offense? I mean, come on. I mean, the reality is, until the Iowa Hawkeyes legitimately use the passing game, which we started to see with the which we started
if you watch
to see
football on TV
with the Iowa Hawkeye team who beat USC. But until that becomes a more prominent role, if you, like I said, if you have a talented guy who can play both ways, put him on defense. And you know, because the Hawkeyes just aren't going to get him the ball. All right, let's watch one more little video here. I think they might be the same one. Nice. Nice. He has a 4.39 40 and a 37-inch vertical. I mean, it is incredible. It really is incredible. By the way, I'm not sure if I showed TJ Hall's rivals profile, but here that is 5.7. All these guys are 5.7s, which is really, really spectacular. By the way, TJ does not only has junior season highlights. He doesn't have nice pick here. He doesn't have runner's gate, baby. Woo! He doesn't have his senior highlights posted. Maybe he'll have those here in the future. But the school he went to or still goes to, San Joaquin Memorial, we played them in water polo in the section championships, as well as basketball in my junior season, both in my junior season. Actually, water polo might have been my senior year. Can't remember. Very talented school, one of the best schools in California. So just a little anecdote there. Also, very, very fluid athlete. I will say the one thing that kind of jumps off to me a little bit more with TJ Hall, he does seem more of a natural offensive player than the other two guys. He just kind of has that natural offensive wiggle to him. And again, he's also very long. I mean, all three of these guys, Olando 6'1", Cohen 6'2", TJ Hall 6'2". That is what Phil Parker is going towards. So, listen, folks, I'm trying to think of a better defensive back haul that the Iowa Hawkeyes have had, and I don't think I can find it. Purely based off of recruiting, not what ended up happening at Iowa or anything like that. Because if you look at what ended up happening at Iowa, I mean, there's been several classes that have been okay. I mean, both 2017 and 18 had guys who ended up playing DB at Iowa, significant reps. Jack Kerner, Riley Moss, Kayvon Merriweather, Matt Hankins. But just off of the recruiting, the most recent class that I can think of that has been but close to as good as this one would be the class, I think it's 2018, with DJ Johnson and Julius Brents and Riley Moss. But even then, Riley Moss was not highly recruited. He was a gray shirt offer. This class, I think, is the best defensive back recruiting class Iowa has received, with 5-star Xavier Wampa, Olando Trader, TJ Hall, and Cohen Estringer. All right, guys, my analysis and eval is very simple here. All three of these guys are very, very talented. They're all long, tall for the defensive back position. TJ Hall and Olando Trader project more to the cornerback position, whereas Cohen Estringer projects more towards the safety position. But to be totally honest, I can see all of them playing corner or any position in the defensive backfield. By the way, I know I'm not mentioning Xavier Wampa much because I already did a video on him. Okay. All of them are very talented as far as being able to significantly play at all phases of the football field or in the game of football, special teams, offense, defense, like I said, to varying degrees. They all are very smooth athletes, very athletic, and the only one who I would say physically needs a little bit more maturation, but his athleticism may kind of cover up for that would be TJ Hall. And it's not as though he is undersized. He just needs to add some more muscle. All of them do. But I would say Cohen and Olando are a little bit further along on that trajectory. This is as good as it gets, Iowa fans. I mean, all of these guys had significant offers, Notre Dame, Arizona, Washington, Michigan, Ohio State. All of them were highly recruited. They're all very talented. Like I said, Cohen S Stringer and Xavier project more towards safety. Olando and TJ project more towards the cornerback position. The Iowa Hawkeyes have moved towards a five DBs on the field at once type of team, where it's more that they have five players rather than five DBs rather than three linebackers. As if we're being honest here, the guy who ends up playing the cash position is almost always a DB. Since Phil Parker has come up with that position, which is really just another safety, but you could say it's a hybrid linebacker safety position. The guy who has filled that role has been a DB. Phil Parker tried to have it be DJ Johnson, but that, didn't work out. It was Amani Hooker. Then it ended up being gosh, I'm blanking on his name. The fact is, the DBs have been the guys who end up playing the cash. Dane Belton, who came in as a DB. So my point is that there is a lot of room for these DBs to get onto the field, whether it is on defense or special teams. The bottom line, though, is that unfortunately, not all of these guys are going to end up seeing significant reps. I hate to say it, but that's just the fact. Even though Iowa only took one DB in last year's class, and it's likely that at least two guys redshirt from this defensive back group, and I'll tell you who I think that is in a moment, and they get some separation between the classes. The bottom line is, just like how Matt Hankins and Riley Moss and Dane Belton and Jack Kerner have basically held down the defensive backfield for 3 years, it will likely be the same way once they are gone and the next group of guys end up being the starters. It's just what it is. That is how Iowa operates. The next group comes in, and once Phil Parker decides who it is, that is who it is. And rarely do guys end up sticking around like Terry Roberts has, and some other defensive backs like Josh Jackson back in the day stick around till their junior and senior year to play significant reps. Oftentimes, guys leave way before that. So who knows how that all ends up? All I'm saying is that it's likely that not all of these guys will end up seeing significant reps for the Iowa Hawkeyes. It's likely, honestly, only two of them do. And which two of them they are, I'm not sure. And the other thing that I want to point out is the Iowa Hawkeyes already have a guy who is very young who's seeing significant reps in Cooper DeJean. So that's one guy who, in my opinion, is pretty much penciled in outside of having an injury to be a starting, whether it's corner or safety, whatever it ends up being for the Iowa Hawkeyes, to take up one of the positions. With that being said, these guys are very talented. They come from great families. These are excellent gifts for the Iowa Hawkeyes. They're all great guys, great young men. I think if I had to guess, I would say Olando Trader. I think all three of these guys I showed you today will likely redshirt. But of the three who I would project to see early playing time, I would probably go with TJ Hall, as he is more developed as a defensive back. But I got to be honest, guys, I like all three of them. And only time will tell who, sees significant reps early and who doesn't, who ends up redshirting and who doesn't. I think all three of them will end up redshirting. I think the only guy who doesn't is Xavier Wampa. But either way, this is an excellent gift for the Iowa Hawkeyes. I think this is the best defensive back group that the Iowa Hawkeyes, mainly Phil Parker, has had in his tenure as Iowa defensive coordinator and defensive backs coach. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for listening. Be sure to smash that subscribe button because, as I have said, subscribing makes you feel good. But if you don't want to subscribe, at the very least, like, comment. You guys get the gist. I will put the PayPal link in the description if you want to donate to the show monetarily. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow. In fact, your feelings don't matter. Love y'all. Go Hawks. Bye.